Hey there, happy Monday everybody. Today we are making some good old-fashioned caramels or caramels. I know I've made that joke before, but we start with a cup and a half of heavy cream, and you could use an actual vanilla bean for this, but honestly vanilla bean paste works just as well. This is a half teaspoon, which is the equivalent of one vanilla bean. Just over medium heat, we're going to bring that just to a boil. Okay, and that is a very gentle boil, so kill the heat, pop a lid on there, and move it to the side. And while that's cooling, we'll go ahead and get our pan prep. This is an 8x8 Pyrex baking dish, and I just have some foil. And now we are going to grease this relatively liberally with some baking spray. You really can't use too much here. Make sure you get every little crack and crevice. And now in our 4-quart, we have 14 ounces of granulated sugar and 11 ounces of corn syrup. And bring that up over medium-high heat. Stirring so that we don't get any more scorch marks on the bottom of our pan, which you may have seen. If it's a little thick, you can add a couple of tablespoons of water. And once that's at a boil, get the spatula out, grab your lid, and we're gonna leave that on for about 5 minutes at that boil. And it may make some strange noises at you during this. As some of the water is cooking off, it hits the lid and condenses and then drips back into the sugar and immediately flashes back into steam. So if you hear any strange sounds, that's probably what you're hearing. Okay, our 5 minutes is up, so we will take off the lid. I'm not sure that we need it, but we'll go ahead and wash down the sides. And the candy thermometer goes in. And we'll continue to cook this until we hit 320 degrees. And if you watched the toffee episode, you know that that's actually beyond the hard crack stage. But once we add the cream back in, it will still be a nice soft caramel. And as before, if you feel the need to stir, you don't want to actually stir, but you can give it a nice swirl. And after you swirl, it's always a good idea to wash down the sides of the pan. And there's 320. So kill the heat and take our heavy cream mixture and go ahead and pour that in. And at this point you can begin stirring. This will probably be burn number 3 of the weekend. And we will just continue cooking this until we hit about 250 if you want a soft caramel, or 255 if you like something a little more firm. So I will not give you any times when it comes to candy because it's not necessarily something that you can time. It's something that you really have to take the temperature and watch it closely. Because if I told you this took 5 minutes, it could be overdone, or you could be at a point where you end up with runny caramels, and nobody wants that either. But this is the point where we'll start taking on some color, especially as we cross over the 230, 240 range. Now, the first time I made caramels, I was helping my mom make them, and I'm not entirely sure what we did, but instead of having anything close to resembling the texture of a caramel, we ended up with probably more like a Werther's hard candy. And that was, I mean, it tasted good, but it was not a chewy caramel. There's 240, you can see that it's starting to get even darker. Okay, we are at 248. Don't worry that it's not incredibly dark like a caramel, like a nice deep brown. There's a lot of air worked in there through the boiling process, and a lot of that will settle out as it cools. All right, so there's 250. Heat goes off, and here will be burn number 4 because we will take half of a stick of butter and drop that in. Stir that to combine. That sort of helps to halt the cooking process, and it'll give it a nice glossy texture and a nice rich flavor as well. You can also feel free to add another teaspoon or so of vanilla extract and maybe a nice heavy pinch of salt at this point. And we'll go ahead and get that stirred in. And once all that butter is melted, which should be pretty quick, we will get our prepared Pyrex and just go ahead and pour all of that in. And like I mentioned, it is a little bit darker now in the pan. Now that some of the air has had a little bit of time to work itself out, it will also continue to darken a little bit as it cools. So this needs to cool completely. Consider the fact that this is 250 degree sugar. This will take several hours to get down to room temperature. But once you're at room temperature, then we'll go ahead and slice. Our caramels have had sufficient time to cool, so we will just use that foil sort of as a sling to lift everything straight up and out. Demold them here. You can see that they are still flexible. So I'll probably end up putting these back into the fridge, but I want to go ahead and cut to demonstrate. So we just take our knife, rock it straight through. Those definitely need a little bit more time to cool. Cut it about 1 inch by 1/2 inch. And now that they're cut, we have a nice clean cut along here. You can see that with a little pinch, they are still rather soft. Give it a little pull and it stretches like a caramel. We'll go ahead and give it a taste here. See if we can get an end finished off. And those are very nice and pleasant. Have a good strong vanilla flavor, some caramelized sugar. These are sort of a go-to now, something that I have to make every year. And I hope you try making them yourself. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Bye!